Hi there, and welcome to another Warhead training video. Today, we're going to be talking about and showing you how to create a custom t-shirt website using the Warhead theme editor. We're going to want to see what our final design is going to look like, so I'll pull up Photoshop right here, and you can see the mock-up that I've created earlier. And obviously, we're going to be making a page for eConquistador. It's an e-commerce t-shirt website. So now that we have the Warhead theme editor launched, we'll go ahead and kind of explain what the panels are for, starting with the left panel. Up in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the Warhead W. This is actually a really cool feature. If you double-click it, you can see it compacts both of the panels into a small square box, so you can see more of your design without having the panels getting in your way. To view the panels again, simply double-click the logo. To the right of the logo, you'll see Index. That's going to identify the page that you're on. If you click that, you'll see a drop-down menu of all the different pages that are possible to navigate to on this site. So we're going to be staying on the Index option so we can work on the home page. Right below the drop-down menu, you'll see 3 buttons. One for desktop, tablet, and mobile designs. Warhead's a very powerful design tool that allows you to create unique designs and unique experiences for every device. For this example, we're going to be working on the desktop version solely. To the right of that, you'll see controls for publishing and saving your theme, as well as canceling or exiting out of the theme editor. Just know that when you publish your theme, those changes will be immediately visible, live on the website. If you cancel or exit out of the theme editor, you're going to lose all your changes. Make sure to save often. Below these buttons, you'll see the Layout Manager. It's identified by the word Layout, and to the right of the word Layout, you'll see the Global Layout and Custom Layout buttons. We'll explore the possibilities of custom layout options in later walkthroughs. Down below those buttons, you can see our sector system, with the page body selected, indicated by the green box. So the first thing we'll do is move over to the right panel here, click the cog in the top right-hand corner, so we can edit some page body settings. As you can see, Warhead utilizes a custom grid system. By default, you'll be presented with a 12-column, 960-pixel grid, which means that every column is 80 pixels wide. The grid mode is going to be shrink-wrapped or fixed. For our example today, we're going to create a custom grid. Now, Warhead is very, very powerful in that you can create any type of grid system that you want. You can select columns, you can select the column width, you can select whether it's going to be a fixed or fluid grid with just a couple clicks. To make things easy and to help to keep the math simple, we're going to make each column 100 pixels wide for a total of 1200 pixels within our grid system. And then for this example, our grid mode is going to be fluid, since we want some of our rows to stretch across the entire page, as you saw earlier in the mock-up. Additionally, on the page body settings, we're going to want to add some custom fonts. Warhead allows you to add fonts from all different types of font programs. I personally like to use Google fonts. They're stylish and they're fairly universal. The first font I want to add is Open Sans. We can also use custom icon sets or SVG icons. For this example, we'll use Font Awesome's icon set. They have a great icon set, a great selection that's very easy to use. Now that we have our custom fonts integrated and our layout grid configured, we're going to go over to the left panel again, to the layout configuration. We're going to be adding some new sectors to our layout system here. You'll see that each column is represented by a square with a plus sign in the Layout Manager. To create a sector, all I'm going to do is click and drag. I'm going to span this first sector over 6 columns, which is half of the width. Then I'm going to create another sector just to the right of it, which gives us a total row width of 1200 pixels, like we mentioned earlier. We're going to create 2 more sectors right below the 2 we just created, another 50% layout. These first 2 sectors are going to be for my header. These second 2 sectors will be for my logo and my navigation buttons. I'm going to create a 100% width sector right below those 2. This will be for my promotion section. Right below that first full span sector, we're going to create 2 more. The first one will be for featured items, and the second will be for my footer. I can select the page body by clicking on the white square that's around all of my sectors. This allows me to edit that area. Similarly, if I simply left-click on any of the other sectors, I can edit those. At any time that I want, I can add more sectors above or below my existing ones. I can also insert rows between ones I've already created by clicking on the little bubbles just to the right of each of the sectors. We'll delete the one I just created because we don't need it for our homepage. And now you see I've created the full grid layout for the website that I want to build. Now that we've got our grid layout completed, and we've got all of our page body settings configured, now we can get to the fun stuff, where I'll be styling some elements within the sectors. We haven't added any elements to the page yet. Before I do, I want to get some of the default global styles out of the way. Warhead's really great in that you can set these styles on the body level, which will trickle down and actually be applied to all the other elements once we add them to the page. In this area, we'll edit our text. We'll choose a color, set a font size, and select the font family. We're also going to want to set a custom link color for all of the links on our homepage, as well as a link size and the font family. We also want our links to have a hover state. If you're familiar with design, you know that changes the color of the link when you hover over it. For our links, we're going to be using this teal color here. We're going to now go all the way back to the page body settings. Now we're going to style some of our heading elements. For this example, we're only using 2 headings. We're going to be using an H1 tag and an H2 tag. We're going to set a font size and the line height, as well as make it bold and uppercase. For the H2 tag, we're going to apply a border here and a color. We're also going to set some padding for our H2 tag. We're going to set the padding at 10 pixels around the entire H2 elements. And lastly, for the H2 tag, we're going to be setting our line height and the text size. We're going to hit back again until we reach the body settings again. We didn't add any text color or the font family to the H1 and the H2 tags because that's handled in the global settings for the body. The next thing we're going to be doing is focusing on the paragraph settings. All we need to do here, because we've already set some of the global settings, is change the margin for the paragraph to 20 pixels. Lastly, we're going to be styling some buttons. Giving them that teal color we saw earlier. The buttons will be applied to some call to action buttons that are frequently found on e-commerce sites, such as Add to Cart. We're also going to be adding some padding to the buttons. Now we'll select the text option for button. We'll be adding a color with a font size and some line height. Just like our links, we're going to be wanting our buttons to change color when the cursor hovers over them. What's neat about Warhead is you can take the styling customization options you've already applied, save them, and apply them to other pages down the line. Now every time I need to create a button, instead of styling the button again, all I have to do is select this main button linked style. Now that we have all of our buttons styled and our page body settings styled, we're going to get into creating some elements. In Warhead, we call all of our elements blocks. As you see here, once I select a sector, it takes me into the blocks section. You can see the list of different types of blocks is quite extensive. Each block represents a different type of element. For our logo, we'll be adding an image block. we'll go ahead and upload an image, the eConquistador logo, to the website. You can see it in the top left. I can link the URL of the logo to the homepage, which I'll do now. I'll set an alt tag so that when people hover over it, they can see my company's name. And because the logo's a little large on the screen, we'll go ahead and reduce the size. I'll change the max width to 300 pixels. Now that we've got our logo added, another common element on websites is going to be the navigation bar. So I'll select a different sector right next to it. And we'll scroll down and go to Menu. I'm going to click on this Group section here in the menu and select Categories. Now that I have the category group selected, I'll select Categories and delete the heading text for the navigation, since navigation doesn't typically have heading text. Now that we've got our block added, you can see that it's a list. It's set to display vertically. We're going to be changing that in a minute here, but before we do, we're going to be styling some of these links the way that we want them. We're going to change the aligning to right. And we'll change the list item settings so that we align the navigation horizontally instead of vertically. To do that, we're going to be going into the Extra CSS section. We'll have the category items display inline block so that they appear horizontally. For Warhead, you don't have to know CSS, but if you do, we do add the Extra CSS styling element, and you can use any CSS3 styling properties. So now that we have our links horizontal, we're going to go in and start styling the link text a little bit. We'll apply some universal padding and then some padding on either side of the links. We'll style the text a little bit differently from our body links. We'll go with 20 pixels and make them all uppercase. And we want a little bit different hover style for these links compared to our body links. For this example, we'll make the background that teal color we saw earlier and the text white. As you can see here, it takes just a couple clicks, and the theme is updated dynamically. I'm also going to want to change the padding above and below the navigation links. While there's many ways to do this, for our example, we're going to display this sector as a table cell in the Extra CSS section. This is so we can vertically center these links next to the logo. So now that we have our logo created and our navigation set up, we're going to go and create a little bit of spacing within this row. And we can control this whole row by selecting either the left or the right sector. So we'll create some vertical padding of 30 pixels from the top. Now we'll be adding some elements above our logo and above our navigation. It's very common for e-commerce stores to have social media links. These are typically at the top, and so that's what we'll do. So now I'll create a list block right above our logo sector. We'll name it Social Media Links. The list block allows you to create custom link lists, whereas the menu block just displays pages that have already been created. So we're going to create our own list here, and this is where we're going to be utilizing the Font Awesome font we chose earlier. We'll use its icon set to create a social media button for Facebook and Twitter. In the general settings, we're going to go under List Type and select Horizontal so they aren't stacked. So now we're going to style our icons. If you're not familiar with SVG icons, you're able to style them just like text. So since we have our icon links here, we're going to go into the List Text options, set a font size, and a line height. And because they look a little too close together here, we're going to add some margins on the left and right hand side. Next, we're going to start adding some elements to the sector just to the right of the social media icons. With most e-commerce sites, you'll have controls for your customers to navigate the site better, such as login, create account, track order, blog, and more. Once we've selected the customer links block, we'll go into the settings in the top right-hand corner. Here we can choose to show the cart icon or the blog icon. We'll now go into the block settings just to the left of the cog. We'll start styling the link text by aligning it to the right. We'll change the font size and the line height, and for now we're just going to leave it at that. Normally we might have styled the text color on both our icons and our customer links, but because we want our links and our buttons to appear white, we're going to be adding a background first, then changing the color to white. Now we'll select the row button at the top. For contrast purposes, we're going to use the teal color we saw earlier for the background. So now we'll go ahead and change the link and the button color to white. Now I'll alter the hover state for the social media links. And then we'll go into the customer links text options and select the color white. Now that we've got our header all configured, let's start creating the rest of the homepage here. Right below the navigation links and the logo, we're going to be creating our main banner, as you saw in the mock-up. It's very common on e-commerce sites, as well as any type of website, to have some sort of main graphic near the top. This usually has some text and a call to action. With our row background selected, we're going to go ahead and upload an image. We'll call it header background. We'll make sure the background doesn't repeat, make sure the background position is left center, and make sure our background attachment is fixed. And currently you won't be able to see the background quite yet until we add a block there. We'll go ahead and select a blank block for this background, which is used to input any type of text or content that you want. It also accepts markup. We're going to go ahead and call this banner our summer banner, because our text says Summer T-Shirt Sale. Here, we'll let people know that there's a sale going on our store, which is 30% off select items. We'll create a top and bottom margin so that our banner is bigger. Then we'll edit the text options for the banner. We'll make the text centered. And because this black text is a little bit hard to read, we'll go into the H1 settings and change it to white. Now we'll edit the paragraph settings right below our H1 tag. We'll start with the text here, change the font and the line height, as well as the color, and make it all uppercase as well. And since our paragraph text is a little too close to our H1 heading, we're going to add a top margin. You can also see we have a button right below our paragraph text that says Shop Sales. The button is already styled because we applied those settings on the body, and because it's not quite what we want, we're going to apply some styles here on the block level. And the way we were able to display this text as a button is because Warhead has a class system. This particular class is Button. Since we entered that class in our blank block here, it's going to go ahead and utilize the styles for all of the buttons. Now that our banner section is pretty much done, we're going to go ahead and keep building up the rest of our homepage here. Something that's very common on e-commerce stores, as well as most websites, is to add some quick links to important sections of the website. Since we have a pretty simple navigation here, t-shirt site for men, women, they also sell accessories and lifestyle products, we're going to go ahead and assume that people are going to be shopping mostly men's or women's products. So we're going to create some quick links for the men and women's section. By editing our list items. We're not going to link these ones up right now just because we're working on the home page. And we don't want these links to open in a new window, so we set it as such. We're also going to change the list type to horizontal instead of vertical. Now we'll go ahead and style them. Because these are quick links, and we have a trendy t-shirt site here, we're going to utilize some graphics for the links, instead of link text. Graphics are a little bit more visually appealing, and in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and use an image replacement technique in the extra CSS section. In the extra CSS, we'll also make sure that the link doesn't overlap the image. Now we'll head back to the menu for the single list items, go to First, Link, and then Background, so that we can select our background image. We're going to do one for men, and then select the last link, select the background, and then we'll select another image for the women's photo. For this example, we used 2 images, but if as a web developer you're interested in faster load times, you can also use a sprite image here, using the extra CSS. So now that we have these links displayed as we want them, we're going to create a little bit of spacing on the first image. And since our images are a little bit too close to the banner, we're going to create some padding on the top and the bottom of this row. Now in the same row, we're going to create a featured products section right below the quick links. Thankfully, Warhead already has a featured products block, so we can select that one. And you'll notice that each of the products already have product images, pricing, and some styling. This is because we set this up beforehand in the Warhead Administrator section, separate from the theme editor, which is also extremely easy to use. And you can see our styling is already done because of the body styling we took care of earlier. Seeing as most of the work is already done here in the Featured Products section, all we really need to do now is determine how many products are going to be featured in the Featured Products section, as well as the default sort order, and to utilize the grid nesting system. As far as products per row, we're going to set ours to 4. As you can see, we've got 4 products displayed. The max number of products, we'll probably set it to 4 as well. And then we're going to sort them by newest first. And within the product section here, I'll also change some settings in the product layout, which will allow me to create some subsectors within my own sector. This is the nesting system. I'll create a pricing sector, as well as a cart sector, and I'll put these sectors right below a larger sector that will house our image and our name for the product. Next, I'll select the Styling button just to the left of the Settings cog. We'll start in the Product section, go to the Name. We'll go ahead and add a bottom border here to break things up between the Add to Cart button, the price, and the name at the bottom of the product image. We'll stay consistent with our light gray. We'll hit back and add a little bit of margin between the top of the image and the name, and the bottom of the border and the price. We'll add some padding as well between the name and the border. Now we'll go ahead and enlarge the text for the product name. We'll make it bold. Then we'll head back, and right below the name, we'll go to pricing. We'll change the size for the text. Make it bold. Then we'll head to the pricing margins and knock it down a little bit to make it flush with the add to cart. As you can see, the add to cart button has the styling settings that we added to the main body settings. Now, last but not least, we're going to increase the size of the product images a little bit. So we head back to the settings cog in the top right. Go back to products, use the image cog right next to images, and we'll increase it from 100 pixels to 280 pixels. And now we'll go ahead and add some space between the featured products and the quick links we made earlier. So we'll go back to the styling settings. Once we're in the block settings, go to margin. We're going to add a top margin of 20 pixels and a bottom margin of 20 pixels. Now that we've got our featured products, let's go ahead and build our footer. We're going to select the last sector right below the featured product sector, and we're going to add a menu block. We're going to go ahead and use the predetermined pages that we already set up in the back end of Warhead, the administration section, which we'll cover in a later video. In the menu block settings, we're going to go down to groups, and then we'll select extra pages. Just like the categories above, we don't need extra pages to show in the title of the page here, so we'll delete the heading. Now we'll hit the Style button at the top and make sure that all of our general styling settings are correct. We'll go to the Text option and make sure the alignment is centered. And we'll ensure that all of the list items are lined up side by side. So we'll use the same display inline technique in the extra CSS menu that we did before, within the header menu above. Now we're going to add some margins in between our extra page links to space them out. We'll make the left and the right margins 15 pixels each. Now we'll go back to our sector menu and add another block. This time we'll add a blank block within this row so that we can add a copyright. We'll name it copyright, and then we'll go into the settings menu in the top right. I've got some pre-made text that will go ahead and populate into this content section. Now we'll go into the styling section for the copyright block. Then we'll go to text options. We're going to want to center it, and then we'll go ahead and add a 15 pixel margin so that it's not so close to the extra pages. The last thing we'll do for this row is add a background color. Now that we've added a background color, we'll add a little bit of padding, so that we can let these links breathe a little bit. Now we'll go back to the menu block settings to make these links white. I'll navigate through the level 1 list, the list item, the link, and then the text for the link. Once I've changed the color for the links, I'll also want to change the color for the copyright just below it. I'll head to the text options there and select white as well. Perfect. Now, we've got a fully functional e-commerce homepage prepared in just minutes. We hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Please feel free to let us know if you have any comments or questions. And from everyone at Warhead, we'd like to extend our thanks for watching this video. Have a great day.